All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Perth County Council regular meeting for Thursday, January 8th, 2026. Happy New Year to all. I'm Warden Dean Trentowski, and I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. Let's pause for a moment of reflection, please. Thank you. Our land acknowledgement reads as follows. We acknowledge that Perth County is situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, who have a long-standing relationship with the land and water throughout the region. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. As a county, we have a responsibility for reconciliation and the continued stewardship of the land on which we live and work. At this time, I'll note that Councillor Matt Duncan is joining us on Zoom. Welcome, Matt. And the rest of council colleagues are here in person. So at this time, item 4 on the agenda, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Colleagues, do you have any such interest to declare at this time? Okay, seeing none at any point throughout the meeting, you can make such a disclosure should the need arise. Item 5, confirmation of the agenda. Agenda was circulated prior to this meeting. I don't believe there's been any changes to that agenda. So I will look for mover and seconder to approve the January 8th, 2026 agenda as circulated. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Deputy Warden Orr. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Item 6 is our consent agenda. There are a total of 38 items on the consent agenda for consideration. I'll ask if council has wishes to extract any of the 38 for further discussion. Okay, seeing none. Recommendation reads as follows: that council receives the consent agenda items 6.1, 6.38, and approves the December 18, 2025 council minutes. Moved by Councillor Kellum, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. All right, turning the pages. Section 7, public meetings, public hearings, and delegations. We have none slated for today. And item 8, staff reports. We have 8.1, and that is 2026 budget. Starting with 8.1.1, capital budget presentation for IT department, bridges, roads, facilities, fleet, and equipment. And this time I welcome Corey Bridges, our treasurer and director of finance, to lead off the presentation. Good morning, Corey. The floor is yours.
Morning, Warden, and thank you very much. Warden and fellow councillors, I will be providing a brief overview of the capital program, including some of the financial metrics for the 2026 year. As previously mentioned, the 2026 capital budget is comprised of 33 projects totaling approximately $9.6 million. This $9.6 million is funded by $7.6 million from reserves and approximately $2 million from other levels of government, federal, provincial, and other municipal. The capital budget does also comprise of a capital levy of $5.13 million. This is an increase of just over $1 million from 2025, or a 4.3% increase of the 7.93% tax rate increase as presented previously. I had presented this slide before. With the capital budget, we have to look at the long-term capital strategy of the municipality. we have to look at where funding is available for projects to be completed. So we receive money through sustainable other levels of government, such as the federal government and the Canada Community Building Fund, and the provincial government under the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund. Capital reserves are money that we hold, are taxing existing taxpayers, where debt financing is looked to accumulate that money over the future years and taxing the future taxpayers. With the money that we do have in reserves, we develop an investment strategy to try to maximize the return on investments. The county has used reserves to protect the state of the repair work and reduce infrastructure backlog. The strategy is working, but it is drawing the reserves down to roughly $1 million by 2027, noting the 2027 year and our lowest amount in the reserves at that time. Continuing the course is recommended as it prevents asset failure and avoids sudden tax shock, but it must be paired with guidelines to ensure fiscal flexibility. The identification of an additional $10 million of bridge and culvert work over the next 10 years has been identified, and the immediate need to increase the dedicated capital levy of $910,000 in the bridges and culverts area alone to maintain and closing that infrastructure gap. Introducing minimum reserve floor levels and setting replenishment targets is how to restore the county reserves levels over the next 10 years, which staff have been working on and continue to track towards. This allows staff to prioritize projects strictly by risk and criticality and ensuring good stewardship of the county's assets. The balance of mixed use between the targeted reserve levels and use of debt for growth-related projects, for example, such as the potential new Listle paramedic base, to balance the impact to current and future citizens. Due to the County of Perth's reserve levels, if you can direct yourselves to the section in the budget, continuity of reserves, the reserve levels are low for capital, as mentioned, and continue to be drawn on again to the 2027 year, and work prior to ensure that we replenish those reserves to adequate levels of performance for the county's assets. As mentioned, debt is an opportunity or a tool by municipalities to use. The municipality, Perth County, has utilized these debt component in relation to our existing or expanding facilities. In 2025, the county paid principal and interest charges of approximately just over $1.1 million. As a percentage of the $25 million as identified as net revenues, it represents 4.69% of our amount of our 25%. This represents only 1/5 of the amount of principal interest that Perth County could service debt payments in future. The Municipal Act allows municipalities to generate debt payments up to 25%. And the county would be able to add on an additional $5 million of interest and principal payments annually to finance long-term. Now I'll get into the specific capital projects, followed first by technology services. The first section is technology services, and I'll provide brief updates on the projects that we have on the go within IT. Under fire radio equipment, there is fire radio equipment to be purchased with aging units and to improve the current system overall stability and reliability and resiliency. Within the network equipment section, we're looking at several core network switches, a wireless network access device for multiple locations, a microfilm scanner for the Stratford Perth Archives, and new audio video equipment for council chambers. Under printer replacements, there's a few small multi-functional printers located various locations within Perth County. Licensing, Windows Server operating system and client licenses will be upgraded to current system versions regarding the remaining legal and to remain legal and compliance. For server replacements, a new server will be purchased to replace the aging unit that is over 7 years old and an expiring manufacturing warranty in 2026. EMS Toughbooks, these are specialized rugged laptop tablets utilized by paramedic services and will be purchased to replace the ones that are end of life. The workstations as well are desktops and computers that are, again, aging out at the end of useful life. The total computer system capital budget is estimated at $298,500. And I'll pause here for questions of council related to IT, and the Director of Information Technology Services, Steve Drake, will accompany me to answer any specific questions.
Any questions for Corey on this? Go ahead, Councilor McDermott.
When you're replace the tub books and the servers and the workstations and all that kind of stuff, is there any value to that stuff, or is that basically just recycled?
Through the warden, yeah, well, one of the programs we're doing is we will be trying to recycle those through, there is an online auction site that we use. Various departments use it for other equipment as well. So we will try and do that. Depends on the age and obviously the physical wear and tear on the devices, but yes, we'll try and recoup some funds if possible.
Any other questions, Deputy Warden Moore? Go ahead, please.
Just the fire radio equipment, is that used by all the lower tiers and Stratford and St. Mary's?
Actually, the system is not used by Stratford. Stratford has their own system itself, so this system is shared by all the lower tiers and St. Mary's.
Councilor Higgins, go ahead, please.
Through you, Warden, further to Councilor Orr's question, so does St. Mary's pay anything? Do they help maintain what we have?
Through the existing agreement, they provide a tower within St. Mary's that we have equipment on. When what it is in lieu of paying rent for that tower, their component of the agreement is through that in lieu of rent.
So that agreement will come up for renewal sometime?
I believe we're looking at that agreement.
Okay, don't see any other questions, so carry on, Corey, with the next section, please. Thanks, Steve.
Next section is Public Works, and actually John McClellan, our Executive Director of Public Works, has a couple of slides that he will be presenting before getting the specific
Thank you, Corey. Good morning, Warden and Council. Today, we'd just like to take a moment to talk about management of our capital assets and impacts that we see coming down the road. Obviously, within this capital budget, roads and bridges make up the bulk of this budget. Certainly, within all the county's assets, road and bridges, by far, it's well over 75% of our capital assets. So this represents bridges, culverts, and roads represents huge dollar value to the capital budget. And certainly Public Works and along with paramedic services represents the largest portion of the overall county budget. That being said, we do see some impacts that we'll be looking at down the road. When it comes to bridge and culverts, Perth County will not be alone in this. This will likely be most municipalities within Ontario, if not Canada and North America. There are a significant number of bridges and culverts that were built in the 1960s, and they will be coming to their end of their useful life within the next 10 to 15 years. Just to give you an idea, bridges alone, which obviously do cost most from a replacement value, we have about 43 or 44 bridges within our county road network. 30 of those were built in the 60s or prior. Many of those bridges have already seen 2 to 3 rehabilitations on them. And what we've seen over the last 5 years is the cost for replacement and rehabilitation projects, a huge increase in that. So if you remember back in around 2018, we replaced the Meyer Bridge on Perth Line 44. That project was roughly about $1.2 million. Nowadays, if we were looking at replacing that, we're in the area of 2.5 to 3 million. Rehabilitating one of these old bridges may not extend its service life much more than 10 to 15 years, if that. As I said, many of these bridges have had 2 to 3 rehabilitations. Trying to do more work on that, it's just not a great return on investment. This was highlighted by some bridges that we're looking at in around 27, 28. And we were hopefully looking at doing some rehabilitation work on those versus replacement. But when we see what the extension of the service life is with those rehabilitation projects and the cost of those rehabilitation projects, it's just hard to recommend that to council. However, our current reserve and funding levels are insufficient to replace all the bridges at their end of life. So we will have to look at some of these projects from a rehabilitation standpoint. And we need to be looking farther ahead so that we have better options to present to you for rehabilitation versus replacement. So we are looking further ahead. We're also looking at funding models in which to accommodate this. As I said, current reserve and funding levels are insufficient to replace all these bridges. One thing of note in 2026, we are moving municipal drain assessments from the operating budget. I think Treasurer Bridges alluded to that earlier. They are now being funded by the Bridge and Culvert Reserve. So obviously this impacts that reserve. This is how we'd like to move forward with the management and with the municipal drain assessments. So they still lie within the operating budget, but they are funded through the Bridge and Culvert Reserve. Municipal drain assessments, as you all know, have greatly increased over the past few years. It is one of the more volatile or variable components in our operating budget. So by funding that through the reserve, takes out that variability in our operating budget year after year. Next slide, please. Much like the drainage assessments, one decision that was made in 2025 is we are likely, more than likely, to have a deficit in winter maintenance. I did beef up the year-end projection. I'm not sure with the weather that we've had if that beefing up is enough. We will not know the extent of that for a few more months, what that is. But that deficit in winter maintenance is being funded through the road reserve. So again, we're taking money out of that reserve to address the deficit in winter maintenance. Typically, that would be addressed, any deficit would be addressed by the winter maintenance reserve. However, that reserve sits at $0. We'll get into, in the operating budget, we'll talk a little bit more about winter maintenance and about the winter maintenance reserve. Getting back to our roads here, just to point out where we had a little bit of asset management information and what our system looks like. Currently, our system adequacy of the county road network is 73.6% or 73.6 out of 100. System adequacy, just so you maybe better understand, it's like your pavement condition index. So the target adequacy for an upper tier municipality is 75. We're doing pretty darn good. We have seen this number, or our overall system adequacy, slightly decrease over the past 10 years. Again, we are working with strategies and other methods here that we are looking to maintain that or even increase that system adequacy. To sustain it though, or to maintain it and or improve that system adequacy, the road network requires an average annual capital funding level of about $6 million. This is consistent with our asset management plan and is certainly reflected within our 10-year continuity schedule that sits within your budget. Our strategy is to keep the good roads good. So condition rating of roads, very good, good, fair, poor, and very poor. By doing work on a road that is in good to fair condition, you see a better return on investment. That means that we may prioritize a resurfacing or preservation project over a reconstruction of a road that is in poor or very poor condition. Obviously, we have to look at the condition of that roadway that is poor. We obviously don't want to be spending a lot of money on the maintenance side of it. But the long and the short of it, we will always have roads that are in poor condition in our county road network. We do not have the reserve levels, nor do I think we even want to entertain a funding level that could replace all of our roads and maintain those all in fair to good condition. With that, I get just to wrap it up, we are trying to look more forward thinking and into the future, looking at impacts that are going to be coming down the road. We already know that we may potentially have impacts to our road budget and our operating budget. We need to be looking ahead in order to address those. Some of the things that you'll see in this year's budget, you've seen in last year's budget, for instance, facility condition assessment. This year, you're seeing a transportation master plan that's in the budget. These are all plans, yeah, they're not for today. But if we're not doing it today, they're for the future, and we need to start planning for that future. We know we're growing here as a county, and certainly in certain areas, that growth is increasing at a rapid pace. We have to be able to manage that growth. We know I think Dean said today to me, if we know the guests are coming, we better prepare our house. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Corey to go through the bridge and culverts.
Yeah. Thanks, John. So specifically, I'll be speaking about the projects that are on the go for bridges and culverts, as well as the road projects. I'll get to the end of the bridges and culverts, we'll ask questions, and we'll proceed on to the roads. So for 2026, bridges and culverts capital include 2 replacement of two larger diameter culverts as well as two smaller diameter culvert replacements, and some preliminary work for capital is included for bridge assets on Perth line 20. So for specifically on the larger culverts, one culvert is located on Perth Road 107 at a cost of $1.3 million. And then there's another culvert on a structure on Perth Road 163 near line 8 at a cost of $300,000. And then two smaller diameter steel culvert replacements. Crossing on Perth 139 near Prospect Hill, and crossing on Perth Road 120A, which is part of the Scargrillia Municipal Drain Project. Each of those are $300,000 for a total of $600,000. And then within the work in progress section, as mentioned, $1,000 have been allocated for that preliminary work. The total capital estimated budget for bridges and culverts is $2.3 million. So I'll turn it back over to the warden for any questions specifically for the bridges and culverts. If the director of Public Works, Bill Wilson, would like to come up to answer specific questions.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Thanks, Don. Morning, Bill. Welcome. Questions? Jason Berger first on the speakers list.
Thank you. Good morning, Warden Trentowski and colleagues. I just want to sort of follow up on the bigger picture that you were presenting, Mr. McClelland, and inquire about the bridge replacement and refurb pattern or schedule over the upcoming 10, 15-year window. You know, you talked about some of the challenges of being perhaps underfunded against the complete portfolio of items for roads and bridges. Have you taken the 30, I think you said about 30 bridges that are quite an age at this point, and plotted them out over time to sort of see whether there's a relatively even spread for repair demand, refurbishment demand, or replacement demand? Or are we noticing, unfortunately, a concentration of a whole bunch of them in the same 1 or 2 year period that will certainly strain reserves and budgets at that point in time?
John, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the warden. Great question. And number one, this is why you see 100,000 in our work in progress for the bridges and culverts, because a lot of that work is ongoing. I think speaking specifically how this got highlighted because of a couple of bridges that we are looking at replacing in the next couple of years. The location, the ability to detour traffic, a number of those things were highlighted to us, and we need to be doing more work and more planning well ahead of this. So as you can see, we are adding to the bridge and culvert reserve to address some of these issues. Again, to try and address that to replace everything within our asset inventory is likely not reasonable or attainable. So that would require, these are things we are looking at in the future. We continue to do work in that regard to ascertain the type of bridge, the location, and what rehabs have been done in prior years on these structures. What more testing do we need to do? Every 2 years, we're required on our larger bridges and culverts to do OSID inspections. Those give us a bridge condition index work. But it's more of a visual survey of the bridge itself. Certainly, you can't see readily that there may be poor, punky concrete within the bridge. We need to do further testing on some of these. So again, this is why you see our work in progress increasing this year. to 100K, because we need to do further testing on some of these bridges to ascertain whether we can do a further rehab, and or if we should just be entertaining a replacement.
Supplemental, thank you. I think my concern more rests with, will we have a fairly smooth spending pattern on the replacements or refurbs that lie ahead? Or are we gonna see periods where we'll have to use debt financing as a strategy to compensate for a bunch of them that have to be done all together? Can you comment on that one?
Yeah, where I'm gonna pass the football.
Yes. Through the warden to Councillor Kasenberg's question. Yes, it's great to have those tools, and that is an option of council. I think a lot of times we're in these situations, and the tool to allow us to do the work at the right time for the best return of investment. Yes, there is cost to debt finance, but it is the return of investment overall, and looking at the overall cost of interest versus the return on doing the work now versus doing the work later. Because there is cost of interest is a cost of interest, but if doing the work now is going to be cheaper than down the road, that cost of interest has to be looked at. And so the financial strategy has to be taken in utilizing all the tools that we have at the municipal level.
Okay, thanks, Corey. I'll go, John.
Thank you. Through the warden, maybe more to Councillor Kasenberg's question there too. Yeah, we're gonna see potentially multiple replacements in any given year or within a few years. I mean, simple math. We have 30 bridges that will be end of life over a 10 to 15 year time frame. Yeah, we could see several bridge replacements in a relatively short period of time. So these are things we need to be looked at now to plan for that 10, 15 years down the road.
Councillor Eggets, and then go ahead.
I have a couple things through warden. Just to refresh all our memories, do we use our own staff to do most of the work, or do we hire it all out to replace the bridges and the culverts?
Through the warden, at bridge work, we do not have our own bridge crew. All that work is, the engineering is.
Well, I realize that part, but I mean the actual
the design
physical work of
The
it.
construction work or the rehab work is all tendered out to contractors.
And do you think that's something that maybe we should start looking at and try to do more in-house stuff? And it will cost us quite as much money. I'm pretty sure Perth used to do a lot of that now. We try to do more in-house and keep the guys busy in the summer doing the summer work, and in the winter they plow the snow.
Through the warden, we do some of our own culvert work as well. If, for instance, a lot of the work that Perth East does is municipal drain work within the road allowance. We do some of that ourselves as well if we can do it. These projects that we're talking about are much larger and typically more efficient to be done by a contractor. So whatever work we can do, we will do.
My second question has to do with asset management. We're always putting money away to asset management. When do we get to spend that money, or do we? Like, we're putting money away all the time for bridges, roads, buildings. Do we get to spend it too?
Through the warrant to Councillor Eggers' question, we're spending that money. As identified, we look to spend about $6 million in road work. In my next slide, I'll get to like what the $6 million reference to in the amount of road work that you as a council and the public get to see. So we are spending it annually.
Okay.
Through the warden, just to add to that, I think this is what we're trying to highlight to council is that yes, we're putting money, we're the capital levy is to feed the reserve, which funds our road and bridge projects. We're trying to highlight to you that those reserve levels are not sufficient to fund and to manage these assets moving forward.
Well, I get that part, but I'm just wondering if we're putting more money way into asset management and, you know, whether we're spending that money from asset management. That's the idea, isn't it? That you put the money into separate asset management to pay for these things as they come along, but are we, that's my
Yeah.
question, I guess, are we using that money that we put in asset management?
Yeah, as well to answer, and some of the follow-up to what Executive Director of Public Works, John McClellan, has indicated, is that a lot of municipalities are dealing with a backlog. What we have been doing is drawing down reserves to deal with the backlog, as well as increase our capital levy. So the capital levy indicated as provided is it's just over $5.13 million that we're putting away to put into our assets on an ongoing basis. We're tracking in a good direction to close an infrastructure gap. The infrastructure gap should be relatively, and until other information does come, in the next 5 to 10 years, we should be in a situation where our capital levy reserve contributions will do the work that we need to do on an annual basis based on our asset management.
Any other questions? Councillor Wilhelm, go ahead.
Yes, just a question on the reconstruction of the culvert on Road 107. I see that you're looking at doing lane closures. Would it not be more effective to do a full closure, and would you not save some money and get the job done a lot faster if we did a full closure?
Yeah, through the warden, the project on 107 there is planned for stage construction so that we don't have to run into detour traffic in that area of the county. The detour routes around that area are difficult to navigate. We don't really have a north-south connector road there until we get further east to Stratford further east to Punky Doodles and then west to Stratford. And with that being a class 2 road, the thought there is that if we were to maintain traffic, we would alleviate the need to detour traffic.
You're good? Yeah. Deputy Warden Orr, go ahead, please.
Just in regards to the Scrigillia drain, I thought that was supposed to be done last year, and I understand why it hasn't been done. But when it's time, do we close that road? What's the timeline?
Through the warden, on that Scargrillia drain project on 120A, that one, I believe, includes the need for a detour traffic and in a way to manage traffic there at the south end of St. Mary's. The exact construction process for that one has not been identified yet. That project is following the municipal drain process, and it's under appeal right now, so.
Any other questions? Okay, I had a couple. One, can you, John, comment on what analysis your department does in terms of projects that we have contemplated for the future? Is any analysis done to package more than one project together, like 2 projects together, and issue that in a tender package to try and drive an economy of scale and perhaps lower the overall cost? Or what does your department do analysis wise when you package up these projects for tender?
Thank you, and through you, work. Yes, those are something we look to do if certainly if there's a number of rehab projects, we have and will look to bundle those projects together to get some better cost savings on those. We do, again, Perth line 20, we have two bridges in fair proximity of one another that are looking to be replacements, and that's within the next 5 years. So options for that is how do we do that? So we are looking and have been talking to contractors and consulting engineers about the possibility of doing like a 2-year tender that would cover both bridge replacements. So those are things that we will always look at to do to hopefully, number one, get better pricing and project scheduling and project control.
Thanks, John. And my other question, you mentioned earlier, you referenced the Meyer Bridge at line 44, just outside of Broadhaven. The 2018 price is 1.2 million, and at today's dollars, it would be 2.5 to 3 million. Would staff be able at some point in the future, for council's information, provide a report just as a comparative analysis on unit prices, or I'm thinking like concrete prices, reinforcing steel prices, things that a typical bridge project or even a road project as well, things that are typical, common to every project, and provide a comparative analysis just for council's information, just to illustrate the difference in cost between previous years and current and what we're dealing with now. I think that might be helpful as well to provide some context. Because you mentioned 1.2 million, and I'll try and provide my own context right now. That bridge at Meyer, it's a single span bridge, and that would be, John, about 60 feet long, roughly. Okay, 1.2 million. So back in my former career, I gotta really think about the years now, 1989. There was a bridge on the road to Wellesley, where the county road from Shakespeare tees with, is it 56? So the bridge over the Nith River, just east of that intersection, is a 3-span bridge, so it'd be 200 feet long, plus a very big box culvert, plus the demolition of the existing bridge, the replacement of a 3-span bridge and a very big large box culvert. Total project price is 1.25 million.
You're hired.
Well, just to illustrate, just in that time frame, what you got, 1.25 million bought for ratepayers in that era versus what they got in 2018, and now the difference, that project would probably be 4 million or something like that, but now you're saying a 60-foot bridge has doubled in price within 10 years. So I think my point is it would be helpful to have some figures in front of them to put it in greater context. And it's one of the reasons when we meet tomorrow at Western Warden's caucus, it's one of the reasons why infrastructure is one of the top 4 items identified by WWC to the province, and past wardens will be familiar with that as well. So no, that's all I had there. Anything else on this subject before we move on? Okay, don't see anything. Carry on, Corey, go ahead.
Okay. Next section is our roads. In 2026 program, total reconstruction is about 22 centerline kilometers. In 25, the county completed 23 centerline kilometers of road within the Perth County Road Network. So indicating here's some statistics. The total road program for this year is $5.3 million. It is getting you approximately 20 to 25 kilometers of road work completed. Construction methods are to be consistent with past practices and will include cold in place recycling and hot mix resurfacing. There are 3 specific capital road projects included in the 2026 capital budget and 1 master plan intended to study longer term transportation needs. Perth Road 130 will be looked at an approximate cost of $425,000. A larger segment of Perth Line 43 to the Waterloo boundary from 119 will be set at $3.75 million. Segment of road on 135 between Highway 8 and Line 39 at $1 million. And then again, we do have work in progress to deal with preliminary work required for future road projects set at $25,000. And that is your total $5.3 million there. I will pause here for any questions of council related to the road program for 2026.
Speakers list, Councillor Kasenberg.
Thank you. I can recall in late 2018, as I joined council for the first time, sitting in that seat at the end of the row, and Councillor Eggets was sitting next to me, and I was doing the same math that I just did. I was jotting down the number of kilometers completed and the amount, and doing a division. And at the time, I remember my jaw dropping when I realized that it was about 250,000 per kilometer. And I remember very clearly Councillor Eggets chuckling because she was looking over my shoulder to see what I was doing and thinking, oh boy, that baby really has things to learn, right? So if I do the math here now, today, we're at 400,000 a kilometer roughly. And that's a pretty big jump in 7 years. So again, you know, I think we're all expressing the same kinds of concerns. Warden Trentowski's commentary from '89 when I was still a graduate student, I think, at that point in time, I don't know. First kid was born that year, so it seems like a long time ago. But from 2018 to today, 7 years doesn't seem quite as long somehow. And to see a change in per kilometer price, and maybe I'm being a real simpleton here, from 250 to about 400,000 is startling. So Councillor Eggets can chuckle again with me, but I find myself taking note of that significant change just in the time of my service, which isn't that long.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Kasenberg. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I guess I'll jump on one more time to tie into Councillor Kasenberg's notations and commentary. There's been a lot of consolidation in the construction industry, and I think John and Bill can attest to that. And with that consolidation comes a shift in pricing. So I'll say it that way. And in terms of the labor component and the materials component are a huge impact. I don't know, John, if you wanted to comment, or Bill, if you wanted to comment on that at all. What your analysis has been of that over the past few years.
Yeah, sure. Through the warden, I think certainly labor and material costs have escalated. We saw that right in around COVID, and it's continued. I also think specifically in this area, our aggregate resources, we are seeing a pretty dramatic increase on the cost of aggregate. Just locally sourced is getting a lot difficult, so in turn we have to haul from further away, sometimes at a higher rate. And similarly, aggregates, major component in hot mix asphalt, so we're seeing it there as well. And as you mentioned, consolidation of construction contractors in general, I think is we're seeing that trend across the industry.
Thanks, Bill. Anything further on this item? Okay, seeing none, Corey, let's move on to the next section, please. Okay.
Next section of the capital budget program is facilities. Within the facility capital project program, majority of what has been budgeted for cost-wise has been carried over from the 2025 capital budget. Just to note, if it's been carried over, it will be represented in the opening reserve balances. As it wasn't spent in 2025, it is to be spent in 2026. For archives, there was a carryover of a sign replacement and some building automated system upgrades of $4,500 for the upgrades and $12,000 related to the sign replacement. Majority of the cost within this budget program is under the courthouse, and it was carried over again from 2025 budget. With the wood door entries set at $120,000. The vault roof replacement, which is a flat roof, is set at $50,000 on the courthouse top. The council chamber and POA court renovations has been set into the 2026 capital budget of $135,000. There is some masonry repair and repointing work set at $20,000, as well as some snow guard and reinforcement of the roof structure at the courthouse for $75,000. Total amount for the courthouse of about $400,000. The remaining amounts are minimal in nature, but are required. Paramedic Services headquarters, an upgrade, as well as the building automation system and components required and replaced and to be updated, set at $30,000 for Paramedic Services listable. There's some minor exterior upgrades and vents replacement at $15,000. Paramedic Service Milverton, a kitchen upgrade at $10,000. There is a feasibility study and options for renovations and replacement and relocation of the listable paramedic base due to the growth demand in the area. And that is again set at $50,000. And then again, for engineering, consulting, miscellaneous type work, we have a work in progress under facilities set at $25,000 for a total capital facility budget of $570,500. I'll hold there as for questions from council.
Thanks, Corey. Colleagues, any questions for Corey on facilities items? Oh, Councillor Duncan, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Through you, Warden. I just have some questions about the.
Yeah, just give it a second, Councillor. Try now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Good.
The courthouse roof reinforcement. Anytime I hear about something like this on an older building, I wonder if it's leading to bigger projects. Maybe you could just let us know what brought that around and what the scope of work is on that.
John, go ahead.
Warden, thank you, Councillor Duncan. Actually, it's so that we don't have bigger problems on down the road. We do have a health and safety issue that we need to address with the snow and ice that is generated on the slate roof of the courthouse. There's a few areas that we need to put snow guards. In doing so, though, there will be additional load on that roof. So we have gone to a structural engineer to design so that we can beef up the roof joists on the courthouse that will be able to support additional load from snow.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense to me.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further? Last call. Seeing none, we'll move on.
Next section is fleet. Within the fleet program, there is 3 fleet ending life cycle replacement. The first one is a wheel loader or loader replacement. The existing unit is leased and the lease will be coming due in 2026. It is listed at $305,000, but during the procurement process, options will be identified by staff with financial analysis on purchasing new, leasing new, or bio of the existing lease. The next one is the triaxle plow. And when we talk about increased costs over a 7-year period, plows are significantly more expensive today than they were even, I think, 4 years ago. And it's been set at $475,000. And the last being a replacement of one pickup truck, a half-ton Dodge Ram Series pickup truck, listed at $65,000. For a total fleet replacement of $845,000 for 2026. And we'll pause there for any questions from council.
Okay, thanks. Corey, questions? Looking to Matt, don't see his hand up. Yeah, there you go. Councillor Duncan, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, the leased loader, how many hours do we have on that leased loader at this point?
Through the warden, there's 2,180 hours on that unit.
And that's over 5 years we've owned it, or 4 years now?
Through the warden, it will be 5 years, September this year, so about 4.5. The lease was for 500 hours a year. That was the arrangement of the year, or the lease.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Higgins, go ahead.
To the warden, on that same vein of question, when is that procurement coming due, or when are we going to hear more about that then?
Through the warden, we have been in contact with vendors for the supply of that. So we have some preliminary numbers, I'll say, nothing official. It would not take long for staff to issue tenders and receive pricing.
The second question, did the leasing, do you think it worked out well or not so well?
Yeah, again, through the warden, I guess this loader was leased over a 5-year term, obviously. I will say that it has operationally, it has worked out well for us having that loader as a leased unit. We did run into some repairs that were not covered by the lease in this last final year of it. So that was unfortunate. However, and then I guess in saying that, the other loader that the county owns was purchased after this. And at the time of that purchase, that one was procured outright. So there was, over that time, there was a bit of a shift, I'll say, in the pricing for leasing compared to outright. So that's why it's kind of difficult for us to provide a recommendation now without knowing what our actual lease cost will be. But operationally, yes, it worked well for us to have a leased unit in the yard doing that work.
Well, I'm sure it's like everything else, prices are going to go up, right? So I guess we'll have to see what kind of numbers you just come back with.
Okay, anything else? Okay, don't see anything. Carry on, Corey. Next section, please.
And the final section is paramedic services capital budget. Within this section, we do have a capital project just to replace medical equipment, specifically various small purchases of medical equipment that are ending useful life. That has been historically set at just under $18,000. Within the budget, we also have bariatric equipment, which is specialized patient lifting type equipment, listed at $10,000. Pediatric restraints, which are safety restraints for children and infants, it's listed at $4,000. The largest amount is the lease on paramedic defibrillators. This is a continued project from 2025. This is the annual cost of that lease, about $200,000 over the next 10 years, ending in 2035. And then the last item is some automatic external defibrillator replacements within the various parts of the county, and then as well sponsored by the county. And that was listed for $39,000 for a total capital program budget for paramedic services of $270,935. I'll pause there, and if Chief Adair would like to come up to answer any specific questions that you guys may have.
Morning, Mike, welcome. Colleagues, any questions for Corey or Mike on the paramedic medical capital? Go ahead, Councillor McDermott.
Yeah, through you, Gordon. Our defibrillator program that the county's running, it was last year and this year, and then we should be done, or do we have another year to go?
Through the word, for clarification, you're talking about the public access defibrillator, or the contracts with the lower tier municipalities would be signed this year. They've gone through legal. There's a bit of a delay with the departure of Annette, but we're at that point. Deputy Keyser has that ready to get across the finish line. But I do see it as an ongoing rolling over project that is going to need attention and care to details as we move forward every year.
Would our replacement and looking at the defibrillators around them, would they be done this year?
We would have replacements out this year. The only thing is there may be certain times that we identify new sites, and that would be something that would require obviously more discussion, whether it be bringing purchases to council, or whether that be a third party making a determination through their own financial means that they're going to be purchasing something and putting them into the program. Because part of what is happening with the new legislation, all DFIBs need to be registered, and there's a central registry. Basically, there was a procurement process with the province of Ontario where these AEDs are registered, so we know where they all are. And then we would expect that there's going to be other institutions and organizations coming forward to register them. So I think that the program is kind of in, I guess it's a reemergence because these programs really became popular for obvious reasons, because they're saving lives back many years ago when I first started being a paramedic, and just after the 2000s or 2002. But now we're at the point where with the aging infrastructure, our assets that we have take should be completed this year, but there will be new ones to come.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions? Okay, don't see any.
That is the completion of the capital budget program for the total $9.6 million that are within the capital budget of the Perth County draft budget. I'll turn it back over to Warren if there's any supplemental questions from council related to the capital budget. We could hopefully answer those. Or if there's additional questions that you may have related to the capital budget, please reach out to staff.
Okay, thanks, Corey. Colleagues, any other discussion or questions? Councillor McDermott, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question on like page 61 in here, the fleet. Your reserves, at a few times it shows like we're actually negative.
Yep.
And that'll be the time then that you'll choose whether it's better to borrow money or whatever at that point in time.
Through the word to Councillor McDermott, that is an opportunity for that. or the other reserves borrow from that. I think we're on a path to try to get that reserve into the black completely. I think I spoke to it, it was like a 3-year plan to try to be able to deal with the significant increase in the fleet costs. But one of the options is if leasing is an option, it helps spreads that cost over that 5-year period versus being hit with that $300,000 cost for a loader today. So yes, those options would be provided to council at that time to help alleviate that pressure.
Okay, I guess maybe I'll jump in with a supplemental question to you, Corey. Seem to remember in the past for fleet, there was this group purchasing idea where the county would team up with either other counties or other lower tiers in Perth County. Does that still happen, or is that still a thing, or is that lost its effectiveness?
Through the word, I think John can speak to that specific item.
Yeah. Through the word, we continue to look for any opportunity to do tendering and/or purchasing collaboratively with our local municipalities. Certainly with the fleet, the procurement of larger units, it has not necessarily been cost effective or as cost effective by doing a joint procurement. You certainly do sort of save on the administration of that, of the tendering process. And again, like for some of things like a snow plow, at times we've gone also the route of a direct purchase. So yeah, it certainly, when it comes to fleet, it has been a lot less of the joint procurement over the last few years.
Thank you. Anything else? Final call for questions on capital for today. Councillor Kasenberg, go ahead.
Just an obvious question. Was there anything on the wish list that we didn't hear about because it's been deferred?
What related to capital? In relation to capital, there hasn't been anything on a wish list for deferral. Any projects that have been brought forward by asset managers are within this capital program. It's within the operational budget on items that are to be discussed and to approve by council if they wish to include.
Okay. All right. Checking, don't see any more hands up. Then at this point, there's a resolution that reads as follows. That council receives the 2026 capital budget presentations and that council authorize staff to tender 2026 capital projects with awarding of tenders to be brought back to council for approval. Moved by Councillor Kasenberg, seconded. Councillor Wilhelm. Discussion. Okay, don't see any hands up. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Thanks, Corey. Thanks, Steve. Bill and Mike and Steve, again, for your presentations. All right. Moving along to the rest of our agenda. Item 9, council reports. None have been received beforehand. Don't see any hands up on council reports. Section 10, we have no bylaws to consider today. Section 9, no motions. None were received beforehand. We're clear there. Section 12, other business. Is there any other business that councillors wish to bring forward at this time? Seeing none. Item 13, announcements. Any announcements that colleagues or staff would like to bring forward? Deputy Warden, or go ahead, please.
Just wanting to mention tonight, there is an open house in Sebringville at the community center, and it's just in regards to the EA. if you are interested in what's happening in Searingville for that proposal. And that's from 4:30 to 7:30 tonight, and it's just an open house you can walk through.
Okay, thanks to Deputy Warden. Just the only other announcement would be Western Ontario Wardens Caucus meets for the first time for 2026 Friday in Ingersoll. So I'll have some information to share with you on that event. Item 14, closed session meeting and reporting. Nothing on our agenda there. So item 15, our confirmatory bylaw. 15.1, confirmatory bylaw 4052-2026. Resolution reads as follows, that bylaw 4052-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Corporation of the County of Perth at its regular meeting held January 8th, 2026, is read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed January 8th, 2026. Moved by Councillor Eggetts, seconded by Councillor Smith. Any discussion? Not, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And last item, 16, adjournment. Let the council meeting be adjourned at approximately 10:11 a.m. Moved by Councillor Duncan, seconded by Councillor Eggetts. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And that's carried. We're adjourned at 10:11. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.